what an accessible PowerPoint looks and sounds like. The following video will provide an overview of how a person using a screen reader accesses contents within a PowerPoint presentation. The additional advantage to making PowerPoints accessible for people who are blind using screen readers is that it makes it more accessible for everyone and allows them to also be saved in other accessible formats such as PDF. The importance of accessible PowerPoints. The areas that are going to be covered in this video include layouts, unique slide titles, object reading order, color and contrast, alternative text, and accessing a PowerPoint as PDF. This video will provide a demonstration of what a person who is blind experiences when accessing an accessible and inaccessible PowerPoint presentation using a screen reader. Successful access to digital content by people with disabilities requires that the right combination of assistive technology and accessible content be present. Right now I have JAWS running. JAWS is a screen reader, which stands for Job Access with Speech. It's the most popular screen reader on the market, and we're going to be doing some testing on this PowerPoint using JAWS. Let's talk very briefly about the different PowerPoint layouts. Some are clearly more accessible than others, and I'm going to demonstrate how someone who's blind would access various components of a PowerPoint slide. I'm simply going to press Tab now.
Tab, title, placeholder, level 1, use PowerPoint layout.
It said a lot of things, but the first thing you heard it say was title, placeholder, and then it read the actual title. So it's really important to have titles on every slide. And I'm going to tab again.
Tab, object, placeholder, level 2, bullet, go to home ribbon, align.
Object placeholder level 2, and then I'm going to tab one more time.
Tab, picture.
Now it just says picture, so this is a good example of an image that does not have an alternative text. It simply says picture. I'm going to back up here again.
Shift tab, object, placeholder.
And that's how we can navigate through the actual PowerPoint slide, is tab to move forward from one element to the next, and then shift tab to back up from one element to the next. As we move through this PowerPoint, you may quickly get the sense of how overwhelming the amount of information could potentially be for someone who's blind, which could result in auditory fatigue and cognitive overload. Just like with someone who's visually accessing a PowerPoint presentation, auditorily you also want to make it fairly straightforward and not overwhelm the person with information. Unique slide titles. Creating unique slide titles is important for everyone, but it's especially important for individuals who are blind or may have a learning disability. And the slide titles themselves are actually converted into headings when this is saved as a PDF, which I'm going to demonstrate a little later. So let's go ahead and tab through this now.
Tab, title, placeholder, level 1, unique slide.
And again, the slide title should receive the focus of attention initially.
Tab, object, placeholder, level 1, unique slide titles improve navigation for all users.
And then we have the text below the slide title. I'm going to tab one more time and then listen carefully.
Tab, picture, screenshot showing slides with different titles.
Screenshots showing slides with different titles. This is a good example of not making graphics too complex and creating information overload. Now if I tab again, it should cycle back to the slide title.
Tab, title, placeholder, level 1.
So this is relatively straightforward with navigating this with the keyboard. So for individuals accessing this content using a screen reader, it's very meaningful and hierarchical in nature. The reading order of a page is something that people who access content visually really can take for granted. We typically start at the top, move from left to right, and then work our way down. With PowerPoint slides, it's important to realize that the reading order can make or break the level of understanding for someone who's blind or visually impaired. I'm going to go ahead and demonstrate effective reading order now. I'm going to press the Tab key.
Tab, title, placeholder, level 1, object reading order.
So we've landed on the title slide. I'm going to tab again.
Tab, object, placeholder, level 1, bullet, go to menu item, home, align left, bullet in the graphic format.
So it's going to read all this text here. I'm going to tab again.
Tab, picture, cloud computing.
And it did read the alternative text for that picture. I'm going to tab one more time.
Tab, picture, graphic format menu.
Picture graphic format menu, and tabbing one more time.
Tab, picture, selection pane of objects.
selection pane of objects. So generally the pictures are supplemental to the text. It read it in the correct order here. It read the most important information first, and then it successfully allowed us to tab through the images on this page. Let's talk a little bit about overlapping objects now. So someone who is blind already has a number of challenges to work through when they're accessing a PowerPoint presentation. I'm going to navigate through each one of these objects on this page, and I want you to just listen carefully to what it says.
Tab, title placeholder, level 1. Avoid overlapping objects.
That's the title, which is effectively labeled. Let's tab one more time.
Tab, object placeholder, level 1. Bullet, avoid overlapping objects and images. Align left. Bullet, group objects, dash select objects. Go to picture format and select group.
Okay, it read that really well. Now I'm going to tab one more time, and you're going to hear that it indicates there's an overlapping object.
Tab, group, Microsoft Office applications. Group overlaps bottom edge of object placeholder.
Group overlaps bottom edge of object placeholder. A person is already contending with information overload potentially here, and this just adds to that. So this is very easy to remediate. We can simply go to this box and just make it a little smaller. And if I tab now to the images of the Office applications,
Tab, title, place, tab, object, tab, group, Microsoft Office applications.
it read it without telling me that it was overlapping objects. Keep in mind that when you make it more accessible for screen reader users, you're actually cleaning up the actual pages themselves to make it easier to edit and modify at a later date. Color and contrast. Color and contrast is often an overlooked but extremely important aspect of accessible PowerPoint presentations. And here are two examples of poor contrast. These may appear relatively obvious to a lot of people that this is very weak contrast. We have a ratio of 1.3 to 1. This tool, called a color contrast analyzer, is just one tool on the market that is free for download and allows a person to very quickly determine the foreground and background and to quickly determine whether the color contrasts are acceptable or not. Alternative text. Whether it's a Word document or a web page or a PowerPoint slide, pictures serve a very important purpose for conveying meaning and information. And that's why labeling them correctly is absolutely essential for someone who's blind. On the page now, we have 3 pictures which are identical, and they could serve 3 very different purposes. Let's go ahead and tab through this here.
Tab, title, placeholder, level 1.
Okay, we access the title, alternative text, more than words.
Tab, rectangle, level 1. One right parent, general description.
Okay, so we have 3 categories here that these tulips could fall into. That could be a general description. This could be a PowerPoint that's created for a student in a horticulture class. Or maybe this picture doesn't convey any meaning, or a person even forgot to even give it an alternative text. So let's go through these one by one and listen to what it says.
Tab, picture, yellow tulips blooming in the spring.
Yellow tulips blooming in the spring. General description. Depending on the context, that might be enough, but it may not.
Tab, picture, tulipages nereana.
So it just described the exact type of tulips that these are for that horticulture class. Let's tab one more time.
Tab, picture.
Picture. So this simply is an image that has no alt text at all.
Shift tab, tab, picture.
So it simply says picture. So this is exactly what it would sound like if someone did not apply any alternative text to this image at all. Accessing a PowerPoint as a PDF. I've gone and saved the same PowerPoint we were working with as a PDF, and I'm going to demonstrate now how those same accessibility components we incorporated into the original PowerPoint transfers right over to a PDF. So let's list the headings now, and keep in mind all of the slide titles are now converted as headings.
Heading list dialog. Headings list view. What an accessible PowerPoint looks and sounds.
So now we can go through every single slide title within this PowerPoint saved as a PDF, which is now listed as a heading.
The importance of accessible. Use PowerPoint layout. Unique slide type. Unique slide object.
And you can imagine how easy and convenient that is for someone who's accessing it using a screen reader.
Escape document.
Now, all those images that contain alternative text, we can also cycle through those, or we could list those in their own dialog box.
Select a graphic dialog. List 1, list view, PowerPoint. One, screenshot.
So all the work we did
Page down.
in creating this as an accessible
Page
PowerPoint
down. Green text.
all applies to the PDF now. As you have seen and heard throughout this video, creating accessible PowerPoints is essential for ensuring that everyone has the same level of access to the content.